you ready to make technology work for you? Tune in to Act on Tech, the podcast where we break down the latest tech trends and show you how to boost your productivity at home and in your business. So, subscribe to Act on Tech today and visit alexcustomtech.com to see how we can take your business to the next level. That's Act on Tech, your guide to smarter tech for a smarter business. Alex Custom Tech, IT means integrity and trust.
Hello, thank you for joining us. Welcome to Act on Tech, where we talk all things technology and how you can use it to make your life more productive. Hello, this is Alex of Alex Custom Tech. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about a very big topic, a very important topic, a topic that we should be having. If anything, I'm not even one to be a stickler about things, but this one we should be having with our family or with our business, with our employees, every day. That's network security. People probably, you guys probably hear about that a lot of time. Network security. We're going to talk about it today. In my own words, my take on it, what it really is. We can give you explanation. I mean, I think you guys already know kind of what we're talking about, but we're gonna unpack it. Right, so bear with me. Let's go. Talk about network security. So let's start with the facts, right? And we're gonna go to our trusty dandy Google, right? Network security. Network security is a combination of technology, policy, people, and procedures that protects communication infrastructure from unauthorized access, cyber attacks, and data loss. It also secures network accessibility, assets, and traffic within parameters and at a network edge. Let's unpack that. Right? So, how do I... Okay. Because I always freestyle this, and I think I'm more comfortable with trying to explain this like it's as if somebody's asking me, "Hey Alex, what's network security?" And I'm just gonna tell them, and I'm gonna try to do the same thing with you guys. So we are living in a time now where, well, a couple of years ago it wasn't like this, but now we are living in a time where we do everything online. Everything, most of the things like we do, 80% to 90% of our time is spent on our phones or our computers. You know, we buy and sell online. Our credit cards and everything is still tied to this massive ecosystem, right? So your personal information, who you are, your digital footprint, who you are, your identity is wrapped up in ones and zeros, right? Nefarious people can use your identity to purchase things, to pretend they're you, to purchase things, get access to things, to get access to what you have access to for nefarious reasons. And it's very interesting that this says unauthorized access. That means that, say you have a house and you have a door, right? And you have windows and a door. The person who comes through the door with a key have authorized access to that space. But the person who comes through the window, through the roof, like Mission Impossible, or from underground, is gaining access to that space without authorization. Imagine it like that. That's what we're talking about, right? Who has access, who doesn't have access, and how do we navigate and manage that, right? That's what network security is. Now, every business or every industry is different, but every industry has things that they want to protect, and only authorized people should have access to those things, those resources, those information, and people who shouldn't have access to it shouldn't have access to it. But because you're dealing with people, right? That's where the weak spot is, the weak link. What really breaks down 9 times out of 10 when there's a breach, it's not because the IT guy didn't plug all the holes, right? It's because somewhere, someone, some person didn't follow the protocols or the procedures to keep that space safe. Hence the room. If you leave the window open, even though you're supposed to come through the door, if the window is left open, someone could crawl into the window. Hence coming into the to the space where no one's supposed to come into. Or say you have a key for the door, you lock the door but you leave the key in the door, so they could use the key and come inside. That's still an unauthorized access because the person who has the key should not have the key. Right? If you lost the key and somebody found the key, comes in through the door with the key, that's also an unauthorized access. Okay? So that is what we're talking about. Who is authorized, who's not authorized, who's gaining access to things that shouldn't have access to things. Because we have to, the person who has authorization should take the responsibility of having that authorization sacredly. You should navigate the space always in mind that you cannot let this information fall into the wrong hand. That's why there's protocols and things in place so that doesn't happen. All right. Now, I have a theory, and I'm going to present that theory here. And I want you guys to think about it like this. So, depending on the business, depending on the industry, depending on what you're doing, security may be really important, or you really don't care. All right. I've worked with people that everybody share passwords. There's one account and everybody uses it. I've seen that kind of situation. And again, 9 times out of 10, that information is not that dire, if anybody gets it, it's not going to make much of a difference. All right. And then there are situations where there's people's social security, there's people's name, address, bank account numbers. Those things should be very secure, and people should have practices that keep those information secure. All right. So, what are the things that we use to make this happen? Now, like I said, to me, the weakest link is people. But there's not only people that are part of the procedures to make this possible. So there's technologies themselves, like hardware that's created to protect things. Take a look at your router at home, or the one at your job, the one at your business, that has a username and password, right? There's some switches that, actually, every business should have a smart switch. And what a smart switch does, this does a lot of things, but one of the things it does, it only allows, it can turn off ports and turn ports on. So, and you can have it set up where the computer that plugs into that port have to match a list of MAC addresses, and if it's not, that MAC address doesn't match the computer that's plugged into that port, the port shuts down automatically. Reason why this is a thing is that somebody can't just walk into your facility, plug a computer into a port, and just go to town. It won't work. We don't recognize that MAC address. That port will shut down. All right? Again, you don't want them to gain access to your information, to your network. Okay. So technologies, Wi-Fi access points. That's why there's an access point on the Wi-Fi. You might have two access points. Two access points are two Wi-Fi IDs. I have one for guests and one for the actual business and people who are authorized to be on the network. The guest people have internet, and that's all they have. They have no access to what's going on in the network. Sometimes you see this at hotels. Hotels, they have the internet and they have their servers and all this other stuff with people's information in there, but you don't have access to that. You have to get on the guest network, and all you can see is the internet. That's it. You can't get behind their net, get into their network, because you're outside of it. The guest network cannot see what's inside the main network. That's one way to protect. So that's hardware level protection. Policies. You might come across policies like The password have to have like certain amount of characters. You have to change your password every 30 days. You have to use the password and the key or two-step authentication. That might be a policy, right? That's what policies are. Now, when you get into like the technology, people kind of like are okay with it. Fine, I gotta, it's okay for me to put my password in and that's it. Or they okay. People are okay with the technology handling the security. When it comes to them taking initiative to also implement measures to protect, that's when it becomes dicey. So policies are very hard to implement 9 times out of 10 in businesses, and people not paying attention. And the reason why people and policies are kind of separated, because policies are like, like I said, the password, how hard the password is, the keys and the password. But when it comes to people, emails is like one of the worst things that hackers, or there's a field of hackers, but we need to teach people, and I probably should do that here while I'm on here, I'm talking about network security, teach people how to recognize nefarious things. And trust me, I am not perfect. I mean, I remember one incident where I was getting some money from a client, and I was using Zillow, and I typed the wrong phone number in and gave it to the client, and I panicked, and I was like, oh snap, they're gonna send the money to the wrong person, because that wasn't the phone number. So I Googled it and I said, okay, how do you fix this? And the first thing came up, I called that person and he was like, yeah, give me your name and information, and come to find out that was not a thing. That's not how Zillow works. Right? But he was on Google, so so I almost got caught in something that was very weird, and that's known as a phishing attack, where they fish for information so later on they can use it to get more access to things. So it's people. We're the weak link when it comes to network security. The reason why things happen is because we're the weak link. I shouldn't have panicked when I thought I sent the wrong thing. I should have just called the client and say, hey, the number I gave you was wrong. Talk to the bank and deal with it that way. So we're the ones that is 9 times out of 10 that causes the problem. So emails, the attackers, the people who are nefarious, the hackers or whatever, they want to get information, because that's how they have to get, because the hardware are so really hard to get past. You need credentials, so they fish for information so that they can guess or they can figure out what the credentials are to hack the hardware. That's why they have phishing emails, where they'll send you, again, I'm gonna try to explain to you what to look for in the emails, but they'll send you something saying that this is, you paid for this thing and this is gonna get charged. If you didn't buy this thing, give us a call and we'll refund your money or whatever. And you see it, you panic, and then you call them and then you blob everything you need to blob, and that's all they get, and then they're off to the races with your information, right? Now, what do I tell my clients how to prevent this? And I tell them, and I do listen to them all the time, only respond to email that you are expecting. If you're not expecting that email, don't pay any attention. No, what that means is that, say you've corresponded with someone before, then listen, that's not 100% guaranteed, because that person could have gotten hacked also. But if you're expecting the email, so say they sent you, say the person, John Brown, send you an email saying, hey, about that deal, whatever, I need you to send this money right away. And you didn't talk to John Brown about a deal. You just give him a call and say, hey, just quick reference, did you, send this email, blah, 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 and you said yes or no. If you say, yeah, I did, my bad, whatever, is it good to go? But if you said, no, I didn't send you any email, you're going to say to him, well, check your email because you might be hacked, right? Because that's how it works, right? Or they'll copy a well-known design of an email, like a template. So they'll have like a eBay template or a Amazon template or a PayPal template. and you look at it just in passing, you think it's eBay or Amazon or PayPal because you saw the logo on there, but how do you get past that one? Look where it's coming from. If it's coming from, John Brown at google.com, that's not legit. If it was eBay, it would come from ebay.com. And it can't be ebay.net or ebay. You want to make sure that it's legitimate, the email from eBay. And if you're not sure, you can go back to one of your old emails from eBay that you know about, and you compare the sender to see if that's where it's coming from. That's one way. And I'm talking about what people are doing to cause the weak link, right? So when you click on things, it might redirect you to something. You might have to download something on your computer not knowing what you're downloading. And that's another thing that's known as a worm sometimes, where it's a software that you're downloading, but then it's doing some other things in the background that you don't know about. 9 times out of 10, what they do is keystrokes. They copy the keystrokes so they can figure out what your password is. But you have to, nothing gets on your computer unless you allow it on your computer. Why we lock stuff down in business is because we don't allow the user to install applications. We install them ourselves. That way we eliminate that mishap from happening. But if you notice, a lot of personal computers or people at home, they have a lot of viruses because they click on all kind of things without taking the time and doing the due diligence to make sure that what they're doing. Even myself, because I do a lot of things online, and I need software sometime, and I'll hurry up and click it and get what I need. But again, the good thing about things now than when I started out as an IT professional, we used to have to buy antivirus software. Now you don't have to buy it. People still do, and you buy a computer, you get you get software on there for like 30 days, and some people pay for Avast. And I try to tell them, Windows already have a built-in antivirus software. You don't need to do that. I mean, some services out there comes with antivirus software. I'm going to recommend one to you in a minute. But people cause the weak link. I'm talking about not something that people do that other than emails and not really going through the email properly. One of the things people do is passwords. People struggle with passwords. Now, passwords are a touchy topic, but passwords, you can't have one password for every single thing. And I'm telling you this, and I'm guilty of this, okay? You can't have one password for every single thing. And now we do so many things online, and it's inconceivable to have so many different passwords in your head, right? But they're password managers. Even web browsers have password managers, right? So you can remember one password that accesses the password manager, and then the password manager remembers the passwords and fill the password in for you. I'm doing that now with a particular software I'm going to recommend to you guys later. Google, believe it or not, has a good software manager, right? Because 9 times out of 10, these things are encrypted. Not all the time, right? And there's some other software managers you can have on your browser that could be a toolbar extension on your browser that your account can be tied to, and then you can use it. Now, of course, it's scary that you might lock yourself out of your password. As long as you have the main password to control the vault or the password manager, you should be fine. But I recommend password managers. I also recommend two-step authentication. Now, if you're not a person that's very computer savvy, it's okay for you to have to do a password and then again a code that's sent to your phone, right? That's one way to do it. But it gets more complicated than that. And I'm going to tell you this. I use the one where you get the code that comes to your phone. Because again, it's that dance, which is my theory, where what do you want? Convenience or security? The more secure you are, the less convenient you are. The less secure you are, the more convenient you are, right? So now when we do the two-step authentication, there's multiple ways of the second steps. The first step is to put the password in. The second step is the authentication. Now, if you're just gonna use the one password, believe it or not, people might disagree with me. Use the one password. You can use the one password with the authentication. Then that way you'll get like a code, and then you know, okay, this is you. If you say no, it won't go through because you can't go through without 2 steps of authentication. All right. So we're talking about the code. That means you get a text message with a number or something like that, and then you pick, you put the number in or something like that, right? But that is also the key. We have like a key fob, or there's something that generate numbers that you gotta put in. So there's different. There's biometric, where it uses your actual fingerprint or your face to gain access. It gets really complicated, and that's the industry's way of attempting to, minimize these risks of people gaining access to stuff that they shouldn't be getting access to, right? So that's 2-step authentication. There's more to it, but like I said, password protection, password management, 2-step authentication, you kind of want to implement those things in your personal life and in your business if you have a business. Now, the thing I recommend, and we do here at Alex Custom Tech, and I'm gonna, if I even get to the point where I grow more and I get more employees, I'm gonna actually start offering them this. Aurora, that's A-U-R-A. So I use that, and what it is an identity protection service. So that also encapsulates my passwords. So it's also my password manager. It tracks the dark web. We didn't go into the dark web, but just in a synopsis. So when they steal your information, they sell it on the dark web. Okay, and people use it most of the time. 9 times out of 10, people get hacked. I'm not saying they don't, but most of the time, what happens is that people use it to phish, or they use it to email you junk, to email you more, because they sell it to companies and then they email you, right? So, Aurora identity theft protection software that I have personally, they scan the dark web for my information and delete it. It gives me really crazy password that I don't remember, but it remembers it, and it tracks my credit report and so on and so. So if anything comes up on my credit report that's kind of fishy, it lets me know. I get an alert. So that's Aurora, A-U-R-A, right? Very cool. And if you're into Marvel Cinematic Universe, Tony Stark promotes it. So there's other versions of that, but I like Aurora, and it's pretty reasonable. And you get a 14-day trial if you sign up, right? And so that covers that part of it. But you really, and I don't think a half an hour, 25 minutes is really justified to this topic. But we really need to start getting serious about this, because people businesses are shutting down because they got a breach, and when you get a breach, sometimes you can't recover from it. It's so expensive because the lawsuits and the penalties, it's really bad. So we as people, we are the weak link in this. I'm being serious. Like the hardware is pretty good, the software is pretty good. If we just do our part as individuals, we could pretty much minimize this or eliminate it altogether, right? But we human beings are just not attentive, right? And we cut corners, like convenience, and that's the problem. So that said, invest into one of these identity theft things for you and your employees. That's very good. Don't allow them to download things on their personal computers or the computers in the office. Use your IT staff to lock that stuff up, and also lean heavily into two-step authentication. I mean, again, some people would say don't use the text messages because somebody could hack the phone, but I really, again, something is better than nothing. All right, the password and then authentication step, two-step authentication. I think that I would recommend that, right? Also, definitely do like weekly or monthly training on email and spamming emails and phishing emails, recognizing phishing emails. Have them be experts in knowing what things are fishy. And whenever they're panicking, tell them not to do anything. If something happens and they're going to panic, stop. Don't do anything. Because my personal opinion, you never make a decision based off emotions. I seek myself into this a little bit. I never wanted this to be a personal thing, but I don't believe that you should ever make a decision based on emotions. I think you should always make a decision based on logic in your life. And I don't think emotions are very helpful in decision making. Plus, I also would hear me say there's no solutions in life, only trade-offs, which is a perfect example. If you want to be secure, you're not going to be comfortable. You want to be secure, you're not going to be convenient. If you want to be convenient, you're not going to be secure. You can't have both. So that's what it means by when I say there's no solutions in life, only trade-offs. And the trade-off, you have to be able to live with the trade-off. So, network security is very important. And we need to get on the ball on this. Okay? So take care of yourself and each other. Like I always say, stay productive.